than are healthy. What's causing this crisis? According to tens of thousands of studies published in peer-reviewed medical journals, the single biggest factor is the food on our plates. And that's actually great news, because it means that the power to create change and to reclaim your health lies in your hands. We all know that food matters, but we face an epidemic of confusion. Is fat good or bad? Can you get too much protein? Are eggs healthy or not? What about calcium, iron, B12, and omega-3 fatty acids? Should you go vegan, or do you need meat, dairy, and eggs? Is organic worth the cost? Is sugar all that bad, or is it okay to cheat a bit now and then? And please, please don't take my chocolate. We've got all sorts of so-called experts, each with a different opinion on what you should do and how you should live. But who can you trust? I want to introduce you to a person millions of people consider their #1 most trusted resource. My dad and colleague, best-selling author John Robbins. I know this guy pretty well, and his story has become the stuff of the legend. You see, his dad, my grandpa Irvin Robbins, founded Baskin-Robbins. My dad was groomed to join in running what became the world's largest ice cream company. But in his early 20s, when he was offered that chance, my dad walked away from the ice cream empire and from any access to the family wealth to follow his own rocky road. If he was just out to make a buck, he never would have left a cushy life at Baskin-Robbins. But some things are more important than money. My dad went on to become one of the world's most beloved natural health experts. For the last 3 decades, he's been studying thousands of medical journal reports, reading hundreds of books, and staying abreast of the latest research. He's written 11 books, conducted more than 200 interviews with the world's top food experts, and spoken for the United Nations and on most of the biggest talk shows. He's inspired millions of people to claim the power of their food choices to take a stand for a healthy life. Health could be the most important resource in this world, more important than money or fame or power. Health is literally underneath and enabling everything else you do. And that's why I'm so excited to bring you the one and only John Robbins.
Well, thank you, Ocean, for that introduction, that beautiful introduction, and for your love. And thank you to everyone for joining us. I'm very excited right now about this because we're going to talk about something that's very significant to all of our lives. Are you a person who knows the value of health? Maybe you or your loved ones have struggled with challenges. You might have even faced mortality. And in the process, maybe you've come to know that health isn't something to ever take for granted. Do you care where your food comes from, how it's grown, and how it impacts the world around you? Do you know that food matters? Do you see how important it is to be willing to think differently and to eat differently than the majority of the people around you? If this sounds like you, then welcome. You're in the right place.
And I want to give you a quick idea of why we decided to create this masterclass. Almost everyone that I know is trying to eat well or to eat better, at least most of the time. But as a society, we keep getting fatter and sicker, and rates of chronic illness are off the charts. In the US, more than 1/3 of our kids are now expected to get diabetes, and the average senior is being prescribed 12 prescription medications every year. And even apart from all these problems, how many people could do more and give more if they could fully claim their health potential?
Yes, most of us think about our body a bit as if it was a car. It's either working, in which case we take it for granted and use it, or it's broken, in which case we take it to the repair shop and spend whatever it costs to get it working again. But unlike a car, when you feed your body the right kind of fuel, it can actually heal itself. And it can even transform itself into an ultra-high performance vehicle. When you treat your body right, you don't just fight disease, though you do that. You actually create over time a whole new body. And then health isn't just disease prevention, it's loving your life. It's about having the energy to wake up and be delighted to be alive, to enjoy moving and playing. It's about being able to have a clear mind all day long so you can do the things you love to do. And it's about loving the people you love with your whole heart. Because now you're giving from a cup that's full. Because you're filled with steady, positive energy all day and all night long. And if you think about it, food is literally the foundation for everything else in your life. What you eat literally becomes you. Every cell in your body came from food. Your body contains about 10 trillion individual cells, and almost all of them are constantly regenerating, though some take longer than others. The cells lining your stomach are replaced with new ones every 5 days. Cells in your skin are replaced every week or so. Your red blood cells are replaced every 4 months, and your liver cells are replaced every 5 months. On the other end of the spectrum, though, your bones take a lot longer to regenerate. They are completely remodeled, and all of your bone cells are replaced every 10 years. So, when you make the optimal food choices and create the best health possible for you, you literally become in time a new person. And then amazingly, everything in your life, and I mean literally everything, can get better and brighter and clearer.
We all know, and I'm sure you'll agree, if you can improve your health, then every aspect of your life improves. Because when you have more health, you can improve your career, you can improve how you show up and what you have to give in every domain of life. And I'm sure you agree that a healthy diet is essential to a healthy life. But why is it that most of us don't learn how to be healthy or how to eat well?
That is really an excellent question. We have an entire society, and frankly an entire economy, that's been built on a totally outdated model. We have a $1 trillion food industry that's built on selling convenient, tasty junk foods. We have a multi-trillion-dollar medical industry that's based on treating the symptoms of the diseases that are caused by eating those foods. And we have a government that doles out tens of billions of dollars in subsidies that bring down the price of the ingredients used in those foods. Taxpayers are subsidizing things like Wonder Bread and Twinkies, like high fructose corn syrup and factory farmed meat. But almost no support is going to fruits and vegetables, or to seeds and nuts, or to legumes. If we're going to subsidize anything, shouldn't we be lowering the price of the foods every informed public health authority is telling us we should be eating more of? Meanwhile, our children aren't learning about nutrition in school, doctors aren't learning about it in medical school, and we see ads for Cheese Whiz and sugary cereals and not for broccoli or blueberries. It all adds up to what I call a toxic food culture.
And you've been working to change that culture for a long time, starting with empowering every single individual with the knowledge that we need to break free and to reclaim our health.
I have, it's true. And I've been on this mission for most of my life, but I really need to say that I'm not special. Like a lot of people, I've come to healthy eating the hard way. I grew up with major health challenges. At the age of 5, I had polio, which left me paralyzed from the waist down and stuck in a wheelchair. Now, even though the movement slowly came back to my legs, my left leg stopped growing for more than a year, and I ended up walking with a very serious limp. I also, as a child, had asthma and allergies, and I was constantly getting sick. I remember being 11 years old on the schoolyard when teams were forming to play a game of kickball. There were team captains who got to pick the players in order of preference. And I remember how it felt to get picked last. Out of all the kids there, I was the last boy they wanted on their team. Now, that kind of thing can make a deep impact on a child. It can shape your identity and who you are. I wanted to overcome these challenges, but I had to work harder. And maybe some people could identify with this, that you're working hard, you're doing the effort, but the reward isn't coming. And you're saying to yourself, this isn't fair. Why do I have to work 2 or 3 times harder than everybody else and still not get the results? But I can promise everyone watching this something. No matter what you've been through, and no matter how hard it might have been, or how hard it might be for you right now, we're going to make it a lot easier. We're going to give you tangible tips based on the latest learnings of medical science so that you will get real results.
You've seen results in your life, too.
Yes, I have, and it didn't come easy. I grew up on what basically amounted to an ice cream diet, eating lots of sugar and animal products, and sometimes even actually eating ice cream for breakfast. But when I was in college, I met my wife, Ocean's mom, Deo. We've been together now for well more than 50 years. And almost immediately after we met, we decided to start eating healthy food. We literally put the ice cream in the kitchen sink, turned on the hot water, and watched it melt down the drain. We cleared out all our fridge and our cupboards completely, and we started becoming truly serious about learning how to eat well. We also started learning yoga and practicing meditation.
And naming your kid Ocean. They almost named me Kale.
It's true. It's true. We were a little outside the box. We didn't end up naming him Kale, obviously, but we did eat a lot of kale in those days, and cabbage and broccoli and the other veggies that we grew in our garden.
And it didn't hurt his health. He went on to become a triathlete and a dancer and a marathon runner.
It's true. And perhaps because I didn't have health as a child, I've continued to value my health very highly ever since. And now, in my 70s, I'm still enjoying the results. In fact, as of this moment with you today, I haven't had a cold or the flu in more than 20 years. But the real story here is that it hasn't always been this way for me, and it didn't happen by chance.
It certainly did not, and it would have seemed rather unlikely, considering this sickness that my dad suffered throughout his childhood, that he would have anything like the health that he does today. And I want to highlight also the importance of family example. When I was a youngster growing up, my parents modeled healthy eating and healthy living in a really big way. And that had a huge influence on me. In fact, I ran my first marathon when I was 10. And to this day, my dad and I work out at the gym together a couple times every week. Working out with him is just an incredible privilege because I get to see a positive example of what's possible for me and for so many of us in the decades to come. And most of us don't have those kinds of positive examples of elders in our families. Now, speaking of family, I'm realizing a lot of folks watching now know our family story, but some might not. And it's a pretty interesting story. So would you mind telling us a little bit about your dad and your relationship with him and how he influenced what you're up to now?
I would be happy to do that. And for those of you who don't know, my father, Irvin Robbins, was the founder and the co-owner of the Baskin-Robbins ice cream company. I grew up with an ice cream cone-shaped swimming pool in our backyard. And I was groomed from early childhood to follow in my dad's footsteps. I'm an only son, and he expected that one day I would join him in running the family business. In those years, Baskin-Robbins was becoming the world's largest ice cream company, a multi-billion-dollar company. But when I was in my early 20s, I made a critical decision for my life, and I chose to walk away from a path that was prepared for me by my father and practically paved with gold and with ice cream. Now, why did I do that? I didn't want to sell a product that could be undermining anyone's health. Now, I'm not saying an ice cream cone is going to kill anybody. It clearly isn't. But the more you eat, the more likely you are then to have a heart attack, like my uncle Bert Baskin did. He was my father's brother-in-law and business partner, and he died from a heart attack at the age of only 54. He was a very big man, and he ate a lot of ice cream. The more ice cream you eat, the more likely you are also to develop diabetes, like my father did. The truth is, ice cream can be fun, it can bring a lot of momentary pleasure, and I had the opportunity to make a lot of money selling it. But some things in life are more important than money. So I made a choice for integrity. I told my dad I wasn't going to follow in his footsteps, and also I told him that I didn't want any kind of trust fund or any dependence at all on his fortune. So I walked away from my dad's company and from his money. And some years later, I found myself investigating the food industry, including the dairy industry, and I wrote a series of best-selling books about food and health. If I had remained attached to Baskin-Robbins or to the money the company made, I could never have been as forthright as I've been about the dark side of the modern dairy, meat, and sugar industries.
The media called you the rebel without a cone, and your work touched a lot of lives. But one life I'll bet you never would have expected you'd touch was your own dad's.
That's for sure. You see, my dad was very angry with me and very disappointed in me when I left Baskin-Robbins. He ended up selling the company instead of keeping it in the family. And he went on to be very rich in wealth, but not so much in health. In fact, by the age of 70, my dad's health was seriously failing. He had always eaten the standard American diet with maybe a double scoop of ice cream added. And now his doctors were telling him that unless he changed his diet, and dramatically so, he was likely to be dead within a few very short years.
That was his wake-up call. And it opened a doorway of connection between the two of you.
It really did. And, my father had had a hard time understanding my decision to walk away from Baskin-Robbins and all that money. But now his health was deteriorating badly, and to such an extent that his life really was in danger. And amazingly, what happened was his doctor actually gave him a copy of my book, Diet for a New America.
Talk about a full circle moment.
It was. And after that, my dad started to make really major changes. And despite his age, and despite the severity of his symptoms, despite how sick he really was, he began to experience steadily improving health. He stopped eating sugar, he stopped eating meat, he ate very little of it. He actually stopped eating ice cream entirely, and he started eating a whole lot more vegetables. And he did get results. He lost 30 pounds that he badly needed to lose. He reversed his diabetes, he reversed his heart disease, he got off all of his diabetes and blood pressure meds because he didn't need them anymore. And his golf game even improved by 7 strokes, he told me. He ended up living another 20 more healthy years.
What did that mean to you?
Oh, it meant everything to me. I had disappointed my father greatly when I left Baskin-Robbins and walked away from the life he had planned for me. But I like to think that in the long run, I may have given him something even more important than I would have if I had done the obvious thing and followed in his footsteps in the ice cream business. Later in his life, he said to me, "Johnny, when you left Baskin-Robbins, I thought you were crazy. And when you didn't want any access whatsoever to my money, I knew you were totally nuts." That's the way he put it. But that was then, he said, and I thank God that some of us have lived long enough to learn a few new things. Yeah. And I'm glad to be one of the many people who have benefited from your good work, and I'm proud of you. The fact is, I'm very proud of my dad, too. And if he could make these kinds of changes and give up ice cream and the very product that had made him rich and famous, then I think there's hope for the rest of us, too. And I'm grateful that my dad came to discover through his own experience that the foods you eat or don't eat can have such a profound impact on the quality of your life and the length of your life. And that one unequivocal fact, that the foods you eat or don't eat have an enormous impact on the quality and the length of your life. That's the fundamental reason we're here today.
Wow, what an incredible story. I've told it hundreds of times myself, and I still get goosebumps thinking about it. And it really is why we're here today. So far, you've heard about how health is so much more than the absence of disease. And you've heard a bit about our family story, including my dad's struggle with overcoming polio, my grandpa's remarkable transformation, and why it is that we are so passionate about being here with you right now. And now let's dive into some of the really juicy information that could be the most life-changing. My dad's going to share 4 of the biggest food lies that most people believe and that are causing massive suffering to literally billions of people. And then we're going to share 10 powerful breakthroughs that are super easy to implement and that can help you live your healthiest life. So first, the lies.
Okay. Well, lie number 1 is that healthy eating is confusing and complicated. A lot of people believe that today. We have access to more information about diet and disease than any population that's ever lived. You can review the findings of tens of thousands of studies published in peer-reviewed medical journals from any laptop or smartphone, and that's good. But billions of web pages are telling you what to eat and what to avoid, and thousands of nutrition and diet books are published every year, and unfortunately, many of them are wrong. I've seen different so-called experts delivering wildly conflicting advice. Some tell you to avoid legumes and tomatoes. Others say to eat all your meals in 6 hours of the day, and others say to never go more than 3 waking hours without eating. Some tell you to avoid bottled oils. Others say to get 90% of your calories from oils and fat. Some say butter is bad. Some say butter is good. There are folks telling you to go keto or paleo or vegan or to eat nothing but fruit before noon. The mass media loves this confusion and perpetuates it. Their profits stem from the eyeballs and the clicks they get when they present controversy and get people arguing and being offended. So they're eager to ask things like, what if everything you thought you knew about nutrition was wrong? They make a huge amount of money from generating confusion and making it seem like there's nothing you can trust.
No wonder so many of us are confused.
It's true. But nutritional truth is actually not nearly as controversial and unsettled as you might think, and as the media might lead you to believe. There is, in fact, overwhelming evidence from a vast number of impeccably designed research studies that you can slash your risk of almost every chronic illness people are suffering from today by more than 80%. I'm talking about heart disease, cancer, type 2 diabetes, dementia, and many, many other illnesses. And you can do that by doing 4 simple things: by not smoking, by maintaining a healthy weight, by getting regular exercise, and most importantly of all, by eating a healthful diet. And while you wouldn't know it from the sensationalistic, clickbait-driven headlines, what the researchers who are conducting these studies mean by a healthy diet is actually quite well understood and is actually quite simple. Thoughtful researchers universally agree that almost everyone would benefit from eating more plants and fewer animal products. You don't have to be a vegan, and you don't have to sign a purity pact in order to base your diet around real whole plant foods. The reality today is that the average American is getting less than 10% of their total calories from vegetables and fruits combined, and almost 2/3 of their overall calories from ultra-processed foods. And then we wonder why more than 2/3 of us are overweight or obese, and why our children are getting a form of diabetes that used to be called adult onset because it was never seen in children. And we wonder why rates of Alzheimer's are skyrocketing, and why it is today that, for the first time in history, more Americans are sick than are healthy. But it really doesn't have to be this way.
Why is eating a whole foods, plant-powered diet such a powerful thing to do?
Because plant foods provide so many wonderful things. They provide fiber and antioxidants and phytochemicals. They provide phytosterols and enzymes, prebiotics and probiotics, essential fats and proteins, vitamins and minerals, and many, many other important nutrients. And these phytochemicals work together as in a symphony. In this symphony, it's the compounds produced by plants that play the most critical roles. They block tumor formation. They eradicate carcinogens, they stimulate enzymes, they destroy bacteria, they reduce inflammation and oxidation, and they perform thousands of other functions that are crucial to human health. It's true that some people do better with more whole grains and legumes, and others seem to thrive best when their diet is centered more around vegetables and fruits and nuts and seeds. In our Plant-Powered and Thriving course, which we'll tell you about later, we focus on how you can implement all that we're discussing today, and how we also help you to refine your dietary pattern to make sure it's optimal for your unique body and life. In the big picture, for almost all of us, though, the direction does seem clear. Eat a whole foods diet that is powered by plants, and your body will thank you for the rest of your life.
Yes, so many of us get caught in the details, and we miss the big picture. We need to eat less sugar, less processed junk, less animal products, especially from factory farms. And we need to eat more real, whole plant foods. And when you make these changes, you get incredible benefits. But still, a lot of people aren't so sure about whether food is really all that important. And that brings us now to damaging lie number 2, which is that if food was really that significant to your health, your doctor would have said so. I have an aunt who recently went through chemotherapy for a very invasive cancer. We didn't know if she would make it through. I'm happy to tell you she did. But I'm not happy to say that not once in her entire journey did any of her doctors ever tell her that food might make any difference in her chances of recovery, or even in the odds that the cancer might come back later. I'm sure they were trying to be kind to her. They didn't want to disrupt her life. But I think the kind thing would have been to tell her the truth, because she wanted to live.
This isn't actually incredibly common, and it's also absurd because we now know that less than 10% of all cancer cases are caused by genetics. More than 90% are caused by a poor diet and other lifestyle and environmental factors. I often say that a doctor who doesn't know about food is like a firefighter who doesn't know about water. And yet, the sad reality is that most doctors today hardly know a thing about nutrition, and it is not their fault. Less than a quarter of the medical schools in the United States today have even a single required course in nutrition. Now, of course, there are some doctors who get it. I'm thinking, for example, of Dr. Pat Spenceley. He's a family practice doctor in Newberg, Oregon. And he joined in a program that Ocean and I led and shared in 2013. Now, like most doctors, Dr. Spenceley learned next to nothing in medical school about nutrition. And when he first learned about our work, his health was in pretty bad shape himself. He had severe asthma and he was obese. And, like most doctors, he made no mention of nutrition in his practice. But based on what he learned from us, he made the shift himself to a whole foods, plant-powered diet, and he got marvelous results. Dr. Spenceley lost 50 pounds, and his health and his energy levels improved dramatically. And he then shifted the entire course of his practice to focus on helping his patients to be well. And now, instead of only prescribing drugs and surgeries like he used to do, he talks to his patients about how diet and a healthy plant-powered diet can help prevent osteoporosis and cancer and hypertension and obesity and diabetes and heart disease and dementia and so much more. And of course, it helps that he is now a living example of what he's talking about.
Yes, it really does. Dr. Spenceley is an inspiration, and I hope someday a lot more doctors will follow his example. But unfortunately, most haven't, at least not yet. And it makes sense because, of course, the entire medical reimbursement model depends on treatment of disease. This is a $1 trillion industry, and if we all start eating and living in healthier ways, some established interests are going to make a lot less money.
They are. Most doctors and healthcare providers, I think, want their patients to be healthy. But the whole system is set up in a way that disincentivizes prevention. It's natural for you to think that our doctors would be experts in health as well as in disease. But most of them are only experts in disease management because that's what they've been trained in, not in the promotion of health, and not even in the prevention of disease.
Indeed. So now tell us about big lie number 3.
Yes. This is the lie that there are fun-for-you foods and there are good-for-you foods, and the good-for-you foods aren't fun. Now, that may sound balanced and sensible, but if you value your life and your health, and I know you do, then let's remember for a moment that there's not a lot of fun in forgetting the names of your loved ones because you've developed Alzheimer's disease. And it's not particularly fun to be told that you have cancer or heart disease. Pain and suffering and sickness are not fun at all. And at the end of the day, my experience is that there's a whole lot more pleasure in eating simple foods with a clean conscience in a healthy body than in eating foods that provide short-term pleasure but that impair your circulation and diminish your vitality. I love pleasure, and I want the pleasures in my life to be ones that expand rather than shrink my capacity for more pleasure. And that's why I love recipes and practices that make my heart sing and make my body feel great, that increase my aliveness and my happiness and my well-being. The problem is that the food industry is spending tens of billions of dollars on marketing that is designed to co-opt your and my natural human desire for pleasure. But when you reclaim your pleasure as an act of self-care, and you find the healthy pleasures that you can enjoy with a clear conscience, your whole world gets better and brighter.
That's fantastic, and it's beautiful. And to me, it's the kind of empowerment that we all need in the world right now. And if you want to know the exact protocols on how to do all this, you should definitely stay to the end to find out more about plant-powered and thriving, which we'll be talking about a little later. We're going to be taking people on a journey to put all of this into healthy and pleasurable action.
Yes, we are. And what's really important here is that it isn't how much you know that really matters. It's what you eat and how you live. And this doesn't just impact you, it actually also affects our whole planet.
Which brings us to big lie number 4.
I'm sure you know that we're up against enormous problems on this planet. The world's climate is destabilizing at a terrifying rate. Our aquifers are running dry. We have a crisis emerging with topsoil erosion, and all of these things together threaten our ability to grow food. But the remarkable reality is that by eating lower on the food chain, by eating less animal products and more plants, you can actually make a huge difference on all of these issues. Right now, 81% of the world's agricultural land is being used to produce meat and eggs and dairy products. 81%. That's an astounding amount of the land area on planet Earth. But plant foods, on the other hand, require far less land and far fewer resources and can actually help sequester carbon in the soil. Now, here's an interesting thought exercise. If, just speaking theoretically here for a moment, the entire world were to go vegan, what do you think would happen in terms of land use? The answer is that we could feed the entire planet's human population and also at the same time free up an area of land equal to all of Europe, the United States, India, Australia, and China combined. And that's an enormous amount of land. And it could be then used not only to grow more food for future generations, it could also be used for forests that sequester carbon. It could be used to generate electricity from vast arrays of solar panels and windmills. And some of it could simply be left as wilderness, providing habitat for all kinds of wildlife that are today endangered. Now, you and I know, of course, that the whole world isn't going to become vegan anytime soon. But what you can be sure of is that you will dramatically lower your ecological footprint by eating more plants and fewer animals. And that the more of us who take that step, the healthier our world will be.
Probably the environmental problem that is worrying the most people right now is climate change.
Yes. And the scientific consensus is very clear that industrial meat production is responsible for a major portion of all our greenhouse emissions. A recent report from the World Resources Institute found that moving away from animal products could slash billions of tons of carbon emissions. And a study from the University of Oxford found that a global shift toward a plant-based diet would cut food-related greenhouse gas emissions by more than 2/3 and would have a value to the global economy of $1 trillion a year. As more and more of us eat more plant foods and fewer animal products, not only does our health improve, but so does the health of our ecosystems.
So the wonderful news here is that these same food choices that are good for your heart, for your cells, for your brain, and for your immune system are also good for our whole planet. When you eat more local, organic, plant-based foods, you can take a real bite out of climate change, and you can help to preserve water and topsoil for future generations. So now that we've looked at the big picture, I want us to drill down a bit. Let's look at what scientific studies are telling us. Let's look at the foods and the habits that can make the absolute biggest difference if you want a long and a healthy life. And this is really powerful stuff. You're going to learn now about 10 mighty plant-powered tips that are super easy to implement and that can help you live your best life.
Yes, these are 10 keys for unlocking your health potential. And these are some of the things that we will help you to implement in Plant-Powered and Thriving. Right now, I'm going to run through them pretty quickly, so feel free to take notes if you like. Number 1 is to eat food. Now, that may sound a bit silly, but by eat food, what I mean is to eat real food, not the ultra-processed food-like substances that make up most of the calories in the modern diet. Now, this is something that every independent scientist and research organization in the world agrees on. We do have a truly overwhelming consensus that eating fresh whole foods that are minimally processed is an enormous boon for your health. So why doesn't everyone eat that way? And why is it sometimes so hard to do? The problem is that the food industry employs what they call craveability experts. That is the actual industry term. And these people's job is to enhance the craveability of the foods they sell to us. Quite literally, they employ these experts to make their products as addictive as possible. They know that evolutionary forces compel the human brain to like sugar because it provides a fast burst of energy, and to like salt because we all need some sodium, and in the great sweep of human history, unless you lived near the ocean, salt was in very short supply, and to like fat because fat is the most highly concentrated source of calories there is. They know that the human brain is programmed by evolution to seek out sources of sugar and salt and fat. And so now these companies add massive amounts of sugar and salt and unhealthy fats to our food with the deliberate intent of getting as many of us as possible addicted to the junk they sell. When you eat real food, on the other hand, you help your body to have all the nourishment you need. And you also reclaim your brain and your taste buds from being hijacked by the fast food and junk food and processed food industries. And when you aren't eating foods that have been engineered to make you crave them, it really does get a whole lot easier to know when you're full and to not overeat.
Which brings us now to key number 2, not too much.
That's right. The average American eats about 500 calories too much on any given day. And then we wonder why nearly 70% of us are overweight or obese. Well, here are 2 tips for eating not too much. One is to eat plenty of fiber, because fiber provides a sense of bulk that has your belly tell your brain it's full. Amazingly, less than 5% of Americans today get even the recommended daily amount of fiber, which is itself far less than what would be optimum. When you eat fiber, it doesn't just help keep you regular, it does that, but it also helps to keep you feeling satiated, and it feeds the good bacteria in your all-important microbiome. Now, the second tip is to eat a nutrient-rich diet, to maximize the nutrients per calorie in the meals you eat. There are billions of people around the world today who are eating themselves into obesity because they are actually starving for important nutrients. When you eat a truly healthy diet, on the other hand, you get the entire portfolio of needed nutrients. You get all the nourishment you need to really thrive without consuming excess calories.
Well, that is a pretty good segue to key number 3, which is mostly plants.
Indeed, it is. We now know with complete certainty that it's plant foods, and in particular, fresh vegetables and fruits, that are the most concentrated sources of the nutrients your body needs in order to thrive. And when you eat mostly plants, you also have the satisfaction of knowing you aren't contributing to the abuse of animals that is painfully so common in modern meat production today.
Okay, so next we want to look at some of the specific plants that have been found to be most helpful in large numbers of studies. And we're going to start with one that you might not expect.
Yes, you might find this to be surprising, but coffee is the #1 source of antioxidants in the American diet today. You've probably heard that green tea is highly healthy to drink, and it is. But coffee also has been found to have truly remarkable health benefits. And particularly, of course, if you don't load it up with sugar and cream. Now, of course, coffee is not for everyone. Caffeine makes some people jittery, and it definitely doesn't work well for everybody. But overall, the data on coffee is really quite strong. I've looked at dozens of studies on the topic, and we find over and over again that people who drink coffee tend to live longer, to have sharper brains with lower rates of Alzheimer's and cognitive decline, to be less likely to get type 2 diabetes, and to have lower rates of obesity, heart disease, and cancer as well.
Now, we're not saying that coffee is for everyone. Some people metabolize caffeine very differently than others. And if it doesn't do well in your system, please don't drink it just because studies have found it helpful for most other people. You are the only you on this planet. It's always wise to listen to your body. And by the way, if you don't want the caffeine, decaf coffee has about 75% of the antioxidants of regular coffee. And the Swiss water process is probably the healthiest way to go when it comes to decaf. And this brings us now to key number 5, which might also surprise you.
Yes, key number 5 is to eat mushrooms, because it turns out that mushrooms are extraordinarily potent in helping to prevent and to fight certain forms of cancer, including stomach, colorectal and prostate cancers, and others. But perhaps the strongest link of all is with helping against breast cancer. There was a study published in 2004. Researchers from the University of Western Australia in Perth conducted a study of 2,000 women. About half of these women had breast cancer. The scientists reviewed the women's eating habits and factored out all the other variables that contribute to cancer, like being overweight or lack of exercise and certainly smoking. They concluded that the women who consumed at least a third of an ounce of fresh mushrooms each day, which is less than one typical sized button mushroom, were 64% less likely to develop breast cancer. And what was even more impressive is that the women who combined eating mushrooms with regular consumption of green tea saw an even greater benefit, and they reduced their breast cancer risk by an astounding 89%.
Why are mushrooms so powerful, and which ones seem best?
Well, all kinds of mushrooms are protective against cancer, and particularly the hormone-related cancers, such as breast cancer, uterine cancer, and prostate cancer. And this is because they inhibit an enzyme called aromatase, which produces estrogen in the body. Mushrooms also contain specialized lectins that recognize cancer cells and prevent these cells from growing and dividing. It seems like all the different kinds of edible mushrooms we know of contain bioactive compounds that have anti-cancer effects. So this includes button, white, shiitake, and all the other mushrooms too.
Fabulous. So now let's move to mighty key number 6.
Which is to eat berries. And this includes strawberries and blackberries and blueberries and raspberries and acai berries and many other kinds of berries too. You can add them to salads or to breakfast cereals or smoothies, or you can simply eat them by the handful. There was a study published in Annals of Neurology that analyzed the data from 16,000 women and found that the women with the highest levels of blueberry consumption delayed their cognitive aging by 2.5 years. And berries are good for your heart and even your blood sugar balance too. There was a 20-year Harvard study of 93,000 women that was published in the journal Circulation in 2013. And that study found that those who ate the most berries of all types were far less likely to suffer from cardiovascular disease or from diabetes. The reason is that berries bring you critical minerals and vitamins and antioxidants and flavonoids and polyphenols and a host of other important phytonutrients. And these are great for your brain, they're great for your heart, and they're great for your overall health.
Berries can be a little pricey if you eat them fresh, but the good news is that frozen berries have virtually all the same nutritional benefits. And now let's move to key number 7, which is to eat beans. Why beans?
Well, because if there were an Olympics for the food group doing the most good for the most people in the world today, beans, along with other legumes like split peas and lentils, would probably win the gold medal. They are a critical source of protein for billions of people. In fact, they provide a third of the entire global human population's protein intake. They're also one of the leading sources of fiber in the human diet. A single cup of cooked beans provides more than twice as much dietary fiber as the average American gets in an entire day from all sources. Beans and other legumes are also a rich source of vitamins and minerals, including folate and iron, magnesium, potassium, and choline. In 2004, researchers from Japan, Sweden, Greece, and Australia teamed up to find out if there is any one food group that is consistently linked with a longer lifespan in every nation and in every group studied. The researchers looked at data across diverse populations and across diverse geographic areas, and they did find one food group that clearly added years to the lives of those who ate it. The food group was legumes. Over the course of the study, every 2 tablespoon increase in daily legume consumption was correlated with an 8% reduction in risk of death.
Let's address this issue of gas. They don't call beans the musical fruit for nothing. But there really is a secret to preparing beans so that they won't produce gas. And the key here is to soak your beans for at least 24 hours before you cook them. Once or twice during that soaking period, change the water and rinse the beans. Then be sure to drain off the soaking water and rinse your beans one last time before you cook them. And then cook them really well until they're very soft, ideally in a pressure cooker. If you prepare them in this way, you'll be amazed at how much more easily digested they are and how much less gas they're likely to cause. Okay, so now let's go to key number 8.
Yes. Next is to eat greens and more greens, by any greens necessary. I'm sure you know how healthy greens are, but did you know that there is a direct link between how many green vegetables you eat and your chances of steering clear of cancer, heart disease, diabetes, dementia, osteoporosis, and nearly every other major illness of our times? It seems as if every day another study shows the extraordinary power of nutrient dynamos like broccoli and bok choy and Brussels sprouts and cabbages of all kinds, and collards and mustard greens and kale and turnip greens and spinach and romaine lettuce and really dark greens of every type. For example, in 2015, there was a study. Researchers at Rush University in Chicago evaluated the diet and the mental function of 1,000 elderly people. The researchers found that those participants who ate leafy green vegetables once or twice a day had the cognitive functioning of someone 11 years younger than those who ate less. Eating greens is also strongly linked to bone health, sharper eyesight, and even to muscle strength. But I'm sure you don't need another lecture on why it's important to eat your greens. We all know it, and we've all known it for a long time. But there's a world of difference between knowing something and doing it. The honest truth is that a lot of people just don't much like the taste of greens. And that's why we decided to devote an entire module in Plant Powered and Thriving to teaching you how to prepare greens so that you will actually love eating them.
Yes, it's pretty much a fact that the more you can love greens and the more of them you eat, the healthier you are going to be. And now let's look at key number 9.
And that's the spices. You know, every culture is defined in part by the spices that are used in its cuisine. In India, there's cardamom and cumin. In Italy, there's basil and oregano. In Mexico, there's chilies and garlic. In Thailand, there's lemongrass and sweet basil. And all of these spices, and many more, turn out not only to add culinary interest, but to have true health benefits. For example, hundreds of studies have demonstrated that turmeric can help to prevent Alzheimer's and other forms of dementia. And they've also found that turmeric can help reduce unhealthy levels of inflammation, protect against heavy metal toxicity, and even lower heart disease risk. And then there's garlic. Researchers studied 41,000 Iowa women tracking their consumption of more than 100 foods over a 5-year period. And do you know which was the single food found to be most associated with the greatest decrease in colon cancer risk? Garlic. Women with the highest amount of garlic in their diets had a 50% lower risk of colon cancer. There was another study that found that people who ate garlic regularly got only half as many colds and flus as people who didn't.
And there are incredible studies showing the health benefits also of ginger, cinnamon, hot peppers, nutmeg, cloves, basil, parsley, thyme, and many, many more spices. Your spice cabinet is a virtual pharmacy of medicinal compounds. Now, the other nice thing about spices is that when you learn how to use them well, they make your food taste better too. Okay, tell us about key number 10.
Okay, this is where we really start talking about implementation. I believe that first we create our habits, and then our habits create us back. And the most successful and effective people are those who create empowering habits. But when's the last time you took a crash course on how to create good habits or on how to break bad ones? And the reason why this is so important is because a lot of people today are suffering from ill health and they're also facing mental fatigue. They may have brain fog, and it gets even harder to make good decisions then. So the key to success here is to create systems and norms that you can settle into, and that way when you're taking the path of least resistance, you're moving towards greater health.
Okay, so I want you to really understand this. What my dad has just shared with you are some of the top tips that can make a world of difference for you. He's told us the benefits of eating real food, not too much, and mostly plants. He's told us about the health value of coffee, mushrooms, berries, beans and other legumes, greens, and spices, and about the critical importance of establishing healthy habits. These keys are based on thousands of studies that have been published in peer-reviewed medical journals over the last several decades. So this isn't just some opinion. These things actually work. They can actually make a world of difference in your life. And sometimes these ideas sound simple, but the application in your life can actually be amazing. It can be transformative. Healthy food can literally make the difference between sickness and health, and even in some cases, between life and death.
Ask yourself this question. If you could have any health shift in the world, what would it be? Would you reverse a painful condition that's bothering you? Would you enjoy more vibrant energy all day long? Maybe your back would stop aching, or your sleep would get better. Would you have a more fulfilling sex life? Would your brain be clearer so that you could learn faster and be more creative? How would it feel to wake up every morning and feel a bounce in your step and a clarity in your mind, knowing you had the resources within yourself to meet whatever challenges life brought you? Knowing you had good circulation to every cell and organ of your body? What's important now is that you realize for sure that the decisions you make about the food you eat and the values and priorities you choose to live by will determine the kind of health you'll experience and the kind of human being you'll become. What's that worth to you?
If you want to know the value of health, ask anyone who doesn't have it. And now my dad and I invite you to stay on with us to find out if plant-powered and thriving is for you. And we're going to tell you how you can take advantage of a special offer that's only available if you sign up from this page. Please do stay tuned, because at the very end, my dad's going to share about his final conversation with his father. People are always asking him how his family responded to his departure from Robbins and to his lifelong advocacy for healthy food. And he shared a little bit about that earlier in this class. But not many people have heard about what happened when his dad was dying in 2008 at the age of 90. It's a moving story and totally worth staying for. So I'm going to ask him to share it with you in a few minutes. And now we're so excited to tell you more about plant-powered and thriving.
I've been advocating for healthy food choices for more than 35 years. And over these years, I've seen many people become inspired to eat in a new way. Most of them have succeeded and experienced health outcomes beyond their wildest dreams. But there are others who have struggled to sustain food choices that they know without a doubt are good for them. So seeing this, a question began to burn in me. Why is it that when it comes to food, so many people are unable to consistently act in their own best interests?
A lot of folks think that it's because of a lack of knowledge or willpower, but that is not the whole story. See, if all that was needed was that people just had to know that junk food was bad for them and that they should eat more vegetables, we would not have an obesity epidemic in America. The truth is, for a lot of folks, the challenge isn't just knowing what to do, the challenge is also doing what they know.
Recently, we asked 150,000 people what their healthy eating obstacles were, and the answers came back loud and clear. It takes too much time. It costs too much money. It can be confusing. Social pressures can make it difficult, and changing habits is hard.
Can you relate to some of these challenges? The good news is they can all be solved. And the even better news is that when you follow some simple steps and protocols, you can make healthy eating easier, more affordable, and more delicious than you probably ever imagined. We designed Plant-Powered and Thriving to make all that happen for you. It's for you if you want to get away from analysis paralysis and put all we've been talking about into action. It's for you if you want to feel good and look good and also do good.
By the time you complete the course, our commitment to you is that you'll be making better food choices with clarity and confidence and ease. You'll be eating and loving way more vegetables. You'll be saving time and loving your life more. And also, you'll know how to listen to your body's wisdom and how to honor your biochemical and metabolic individuality. Plus, you'll be more able to stay true to your values even when you're with friends and family who don't eat the way you do. And you'll know how to deal successfully with cravings and stresses and bad habits. The bottom line is you'll step into more health, more pleasure, and far more joy.
Now, you might be thinking right now, Oh, well, they're just trying to sell their course. And I'd like to ask my dad to address that concern directly.
Thank you. Honestly, if my goal in life was primarily about making money, I would never have left Baskin-Robbins. I walked away from the opportunity to run and to inherit what was at the time the largest ice cream company in the world because I believe in healthy eating and I believe in living a life that contributes to the well-being of others. Our goal here is quite simply to help you live the healthiest life that's possible for you. Because the more magnetic you are and the more vital and vibrant and self-empowered you are, the more contagious you'll be with the goodness that you've found. So our goal is to support you in every way we can so you can shine as a beacon of health and so that the people in your life will like what they see and will want what you have.
Would we like for you to sign up for this course? Absolutely, because we know the difference it can make for you, for your life, and frankly, for our whole world. We're here because we want to help you and others to thrive, to enjoy living in a healthy body, and to contribute to a healthier planet. Now, you might be wondering exactly what kind of results you can reasonably expect if you sign up for Plant Powered and Thriving. Well, here's what a few people who've taken the course have said it's done for them.
Plant Powered and Thriving has really helped me. I was diagnosed with stage 3B melanoma back in January of 2018. And I was scared, didn't know what to do. And I found you and your food revolution. And I followed along, and you gave me such hope. And you just taught me all about cooking and just little tips and healthy recipes. And during that time, my C-reactive protein has got below 1, and I could never get it below 2.3. I am NED, no evidence of disease as of now. I lost 28 pounds, and I've never been able to lose that. I've always struggled with my weight. I was never really, really heavy, but I could never lose that last 20 pounds. And as soon as I did this vegan diet, it just fell right off of me. And I've maintained it now for about 18 months. And I eat more now than I did before. My inflammation was about 2.8, anywhere between 2.8 and 2.3. And I could never get it down, no matter what diet I followed or any of that. But as soon as I did this, my inflammation, my last check was done in June, I believe, and it was 0.93, so below 1. And everything feels good. I have no aches and pains anymore, nothing. I get out of bed and I'm ready to go, and life is good. I would recommend it. It's changed my life. And I know if anyone who does it and sticks to it, it will change theirs as well. And not just weight loss, and just, you get your weight loss, your health back, and you feel such a sense of joy. It is. It makes your mood better. It makes everything better. I'm thriving. I've never felt better. And my life is joyous and great.
Plant Powered and Thriving really arrived in my life at a moment where I was scared of changing. I knew I wanted to go really whole food plant-based for me and for my children, but it was very scary to not know anything about protein, of course, but also all the minerals, how to make the change happen without endangering my children's health and mine. Plant Powered and Thriving really gave me all the keys I needed to understand deeply plant-based nutrition and make sure we could transition with fun, pleasure, and zero risk. I have lost 60 pounds. I was obese for most of my life, and I could never lose so much without being hungry and without taking it back and more. So now it's more than 2 years, and my weight is now very steady, and I have no issue with that anymore. I am a patient with rheumatoid arthritis, and changing my food made a very big impact on my pain level, on the way I deal with medication. It also had changes I did not expect at all, like my skin, my period, an issue I have with my thyroid. For the first time ever, we could decrease my medication. So I can only see benefits. The only side effects are so positive that it's incredible. I would say just jump, just go. Not only the Plant Powered and Thriving training would help you to take the fear away, but it's fun, and you're going to learn a lot more than nutrition. You're going to learn how to make your new food really alive for you and your family. You learn how you're going to change the way you handle your food. You will change a lot of things in your kitchen, in your house, in your life.
It really helped me put everything together in terms of meal planning, how I can make it work for just about every meal, eating out, as well as everything. It covered everything from what groceries to buy to what utensils to use. So it really helped me make it work in my life. I feel healthier. I feel great, and I'm working out every day and doing yoga 4 or 5 times a week, and have energy. So it just feels right. It feels like very clean. Don't feel run down. I really feel a whole lot better.
I had been a runner all my life, and after 50, I found I was having breathing issues. The first doctor diagnosed it as a problem with the pneumonias I'd had and scar tissue on my lungs. Repeated doctors called it COPD or asthma. I finally got fed up and said, there's got to be something I can do to help me breathe again without medication. So on the internet, I found John and Ocean Robbins, and that inspired me. And I thought, okay, I'm going to try this. I'm 76 years old, but I can do this. And I did. Within 2 months, I was off breathing meds. Within 3 months, my optometrist said, Margaret, what have you been doing? Your eye pressure is back to normal. And 6 months later, the drug trial people I'd been working with for 7 years said, we can't use you anymore. You're too healthy. And I became a total dedicated person to plant-based eating. 6 months later, I got on the scales and I was shocked. I had lost so much weight. 2 years later, I'm 95 pounds lighter, and it's fabulous. I am skinny again like I used to be. I lost weight. I take no medications, and I'm thrilled. And it was through John and Ocean Robbins' inspiration that I found this solution to my health problems. Keep going. Take one step at a time to change your life. It will change your life.
Before Plant Powered and Thriving, I had dreadful health problems. I had chronic asthma. I'd had a chronic cough for many, many years that had completely dominated my life. And at the point of joining the course, I was unable to walk even 100 yards. And I was stuck. I was totally confused. I wasn't sure what to do. I knew I needed to make some changes to my diet, but I didn't know where to start or what to do. And now so much has changed. I learned how to shop properly, what to buy. I learned lots of really good cooking skills. And I think the most important thing was I developed a real inquisitive mind. So since doing Plant Powered and Thriving, it's really spurred me on to investigate more, and I've regained my love of life. Before Plant Powered and Thriving, I would have described myself as a sad old lady. I was 61 years old at the time, and I sat on the sidelines of life. The thing that I wanted to do most was to be able to just read a book to my grandchildren and to sing with them. I couldn't hold a conversation. Every other word was punctuated with a cough. I'd always got my blue inhaler in my hand. And now I would describe myself as I'm a full-on nanny. I run, I skip, I play with my grandchildren. They take some catching up and keeping up with, but I manage it. And I've drastically reduced my medication. I used to collect my medication in carrier bags from the chemist. I've reduced that dramatically. And I can walk for miles now. We actually signed up to do a 1,000-mile walk challenge, and I actually did 1,800 miles the first year, and I did 1,900 last year. So from being unable to walk 100 yards. It's just amazing, really. So Plant Powered and Thriving literally did give me back my life. It gave me the skills that I needed to make the changes I needed to make in my life, and I've stuck with all those changes as well. Yeah, it's been amazing. Thank you.
You know, I think that Linda's story makes an important point, which is that health is about you, of course, but it's also going to send out huge ripples in your life. Linda's grandchildren got their grandmother back, and that's going to have an impact on the entire rest of their lives. What you eat and how you live has an effect on everyone you love. People take this course because they want to get on the best track. It's for people who want more from life. It doesn't matter if you're a student or a senior, a mom or a dad, or a grandparent or a great-grandparent. It doesn't matter if you spend a lot of time at home or a lot of time on the road. It's for you if you have a body and if you feel like there's more. If you feel like there's a specialness inside of you that hasn't been unlocked yet. If you want to optimize your diet and your lifestyle so you can have more aliveness and more joy.
People often want to know how fast they're going to see results. And this is the exciting part. Some people literally notice positive changes within as little as a few days. The changes could be super tangible, like shedding excess pounds or trying out and loving some new recipe. Or they might be more subtle, like a growing feeling of peace inside. And remember, this is all about creating healthy habits that last for a lifetime.
You might also be wondering how much time commitment this takes. The actual lessons are about 15 minutes each, and there are 3 of them each week. Plus, you can engage with community members and make as many of the recipes as you like. So you're probably looking at an average of about 15 or 20 minutes per day to get really rolling. But before long, it's actually going to start saving you time, because you'll find that your food life is more organized and better planned, which means you'll spend less time shopping, less time driving, and less time scrambling to throw something on the table. You'll operate with more clarity and efficiency. And very soon, you might start to have more mental sharpness, more energy and more stamina and more overall vitality. And that's going to have a huge impact on how much you get done with your time. Now, we're sure that you have many good things to do in your life, and we value your time. And we want you to be able to put it to good use. And so we want to make sure that every minute you spend participating in the course is going to provide massive return on your investment of time by saving you time and expanding your health.
So let's get tangible. Here's how it works. Plant Powered and Thriving is a 6-week course that my dad and I are offering in tandem with Whole Foods Master Chef Cynthia Louise. It's starting soon. You can take it from anywhere in the world. There are 6 modules, and we'll email you another module each week, which makes it officially a 6-week course. But if you like, you can go faster or you can go slower, and that's totally fine too. We will walk you through implementing healthy eating mastery. We'll give you expertly created recipes, time-saving tips, and we'll show how you can save money, save time, and bring friends and family along.
We have delivered and refined this course for thousands of participants so far, and we've seen it bring incredible results to people's lives. 2 months after completing Plant Powered and Thriving, most course participants reported better overall health, better sleep, higher energy, better digestive health, stronger peer and family support, and more clarity about how to eat foods that were truly healthful. And nearly every course participant who wanted to lose weight did so.
If you sign up today directly from this page, you can access the course for a huge savings. And you'll also receive hundreds of dollars worth of one-time only bonuses. Each of the 6 modules includes 3 high-definition video lessons, one with me, one with my dad, and one with Chef Cynthia. You'll get access to our private and moderated online community forum where you can connect with peers, share struggles and successes, and ask for expert advice. And by the way, this forum is not on Facebook. It's a custom forum that our team built specifically to support you. With each module, you'll get 2 more special reports on topics like soy, calcium, iron, protein, supplements, juicers and blenders, how to sneak vegetables into any diet, eating better and spending less, and also on raising plant-powered kids.
You'll get mind-blowing presentations from guest faculty who've been among our most popular speakers in our Food Revolution summits. You'll hear me interviewing Dr. Joel Furman, Dr. Dean Ornish, Dr. Caldwell Esselstyn, dietitian Brenda Davis, spiritual leader Michael Bernard Beckwith, and best-selling author Kathy Freston.
You'll also get 2 question and answer sessions with my dad, Chef Cynthia, and me, where we're going to answer the top questions from our community. Plus, with every module, you'll receive 6 more delicious, nutritious, plant-strong recipes that everyone in the family will love, and a fabulous cooking demonstration video from Chef Cynthia. You'll also get a special bonus module that we call the Basics. It gives you a solid starting foundation. In the Basics, you're going to learn how to set up a healthy kitchen with pots and pans and which ones you should be using. You're going to find out how to organize your kitchen and how to transition off of unhealthy but highly addictive foods.
In Module 1, you'll learn how to save time and save money and how to make it easier for you to do the right thing. You'll learn how cooking in quantity and shopping from lists can save you loads of time and money. And we front-load a lot of the time-saving tips right at the start of the course because our goal is to take stress off of you right from day 1.
In Module 2, you're going to learn how to eat and love your greens. Maybe you struggle sometimes with the fact that kale doesn't always taste quite as good as donuts or Doritos. Maybe you'd like to know how to enjoy vegetables more. Before long, you will be salivating over kale, cabbage, even broccoli.
In Module 3, you'll learn how to be healthy on the go. We'll help you plan for meals on the move. We'll give you top tips for travel and busy schedules and restaurant meals. And we'll show you how to protect yourself and your loved ones from misleading marketing and from deceptive labels.
In Module 4, you'll find out how you can stay on your path and be true to your values no matter what life throws in your way. You'll learn how you can share ideas and meals with people who don't eat the same way that you do, and learn how to skillfully navigate social dynamics in family gatherings, at work, in restaurants, and even around the dinner table.
In Module 5, you'll learn how to reboot and get back on track if ever you slip. You'll gain more confidence and more resilience so that no matter how many times life knocks you over or knocks you down, you can always get back up.
In our final module, Module 6, you'll learn how to determine what's really best for your particular unique body. The truth is that just because certain foods seem to be good for most people, most of the time, doesn't mean they are necessarily what's best for you right now. You'll find out what questions to ask yourself, how to tell the difference between hunger and cravings, and key steps to help you optimize your diet to address whatever health challenges you might be experiencing now or in the future.
And remember, each module comes with a video lesson from Ocean, a video lesson from Chef Cynthia, and a video lesson from me. Plus, a cooking demonstration video, 6 amazing recipes, 2 special reports, and a guest expert interview.
So if you want to check it all out in more detail, or to join in now, you can click on the button for Plant Powered and Thriving right from the broadcast page to take advantage of the special offer that's available to you right now. This course also comes with more than $1,000 worth of free bonuses from world-renowned nutritional experts and leaders. And we wanted to put something together that's really generous and that helps to motivate you to make a decision and to take action now. So right now, directly from this masterclass only, you get 2 more special opportunities. First, a 50% discount. The regular price for this course is $497. Right now, you can join in for just $247. Second, only available from this masterclass, you get the Ultimate Health Collection. See, since 2012, my dad's interviewed hundreds of the world's leading food experts in our annual Food Revolution Summits. This is a collection of 20 of the most popular of these interviews that he has ever conducted on the topics specifically of food and health. The only other way to directly buy this curated collection would be to purchase the empowerment package from all of our past summits. You'd be spending more than $1,000 in that process, but it's a totally free bonus only when you sign up right here. You can get the entire course for 3 monthly payments of $89, or if you pay all at once, your price is just $247 right now. That's a 50% discount.
And we offer a 60-day total satisfaction money-back guarantee. We're so confident about the impact that this course is going to have in your life that we're going to let you try it out completely at no risk. If at any time in the next 60 days you aren't totally thrilled with your experience, if it doesn't rock your world, shoot one email to our fabulous community support team, support@foodrevolution.org, and you will get your full money back. So you can try out this program, take the entire course, and if it doesn't meet your highest expectations, no worries, no questions asked, you get your full money back. We are that confident.
We've been offering plant-powered and thriving in different forms for many years, and we found that less than 5% of participants ever ask for their money back. The reason is that, frankly, the course works. So again, if you want to join in, just click on the button and you can get all the bonuses, including the ones that are only available from this page, and sign up now.
We're on a mission to change the way the world eats and to build a healthier future for you and the other humans on this planet.
So as we were putting this course together, we studied the latest insights in online learning. We asked a lot of experts what formats have been proven to be the most useful to the most people. And we've put all that into practice. We created a platform for learning that's easy to navigate and easy to apply. And by the way, with every lesson, you'll have the option to watch the high-definition video, of course, but you can also listen to an MP3 of it while you're jogging or folding the laundry or driving to work. Or if you prefer, you can choose to read the transcript.
And we also structure it with a weekly rhythm so that you can go on a 6-week journey with a group of like-minded people, but it's also set up so that you have the option to go at a different pace if that's what you want. So if you're super eager, you can dive in and watch everything and prepare every single recipe in the first week. And if you want to push pause for a bit and come back to finish up later, that's fine too. You can choose the learning modality and the pacing that works for you. And the entire program has been artfully designed with one goal, and that is for you to succeed.
I want to share a story with you now about one of the most inspiring people I know and what happened when she put the principles of plant-powered and thriving into practice in her life. Her name is Kate McGowie-Smith. Kate lives in Calgary, Canada. In 2007, she was diagnosed with idiopathic pulmonary arterial hypertension. She found herself beholden to a 20-pound oxygen tank and unable to work. Kate developed insulin-dependent diabetic retinopathy. Eventually, she went blind. Her doctors told her that her chances of survival were small, and that her only hope was if she could, by some miracle, get a lung transplant. Kate had 3 children who were then between them the ages of 11 and 17. She had to have unbearable conversations with each of them about how they might not have a mother for much longer. But then Kate and her husband decided to adopt a whole foods plant-powered diet. She taught herself to cook while she was blind, stuck in a wheelchair, and hooked up to a 20-pound oxygen tank. Kate was really serious. She snacked on steamed greens 6 times every day. What happened? Kate lost and has kept off 120 pounds. Her risk of heart failure has plummeted. She has reversed her severe right-sided heart failure and her neuropathy. She no longer needs a lung transplant or an oxygen tank. After 5 years of blindness, her eyesight was restored. She is no longer considered diabetic. She no longer needs insulin injections. Kate still suffers from late-stage kidney failure with only 12% kidney function. But amazingly, because of her clean lifestyle, as of this moment, her kidney deterioration has been arrested, and she hasn't needed dialysis. All the changes Kate has made since 2007 sent out ripples of inspiration in her family, too. Her teenage son lost 70 pounds and developed significantly more confidence. Her husband experienced radical positive changes, too, including the reversal of his type 2 diabetes. All of this has made Kate very aware of her mortality. She thinks a lot about what she'll be leaving to her kids, and she expects that she won't be able to provide them with very much money when her time comes. She told me, "I don't expect to be able to leave my kids a legacy of wealth, but I'm blessed to be able to leave them something much more important, which is a living legacy of health. And the truth is, that's worth far more." I don't know about you, but sometimes I can start to feel sorry for myself or frustrated if things don't go the way I want. But then I remember Kate. There she was blind, she was diabetic, 120 pounds overweight, stuck in a wheelchair and hooked up to a 20-pound oxygen tank. There she was, learning to cook and snacking on greens 6 times every day. Suddenly, my gripes seemed pretty small. And here's the real point. Kate's doctors told her that her condition was basically hopeless. But she took her health into her own hands. And because of the choices and the changes that she made, Kate's husband not only got his wife back, he also reversed his diabetes. Her kids didn't just have to not lose their mom, her son also followed her example, and he released 70 pounds himself. No matter what you've been through, or how hard your life's been, or what health obstacles or other obstacles you might be facing right now, I want you to remember, if there's breath in your lungs, if there's conscious thought in your mind, there is hope. There are steps you can take to make things better. And every step you take doesn't just impact you, it impacts everyone you love. And now it's your turn. If you feel touched by what you're hearing, and if you feel moved to join us, then this is your moment. Right now, you can step into a whole new life direction. The doors to plant-powered and thriving are open to you right now, and we would love to welcome you. So go ahead and sign up right on this page, and we can't wait to share the journey with you. Let's do this.
I want to thank you for being the extraordinary and special human being that you are. Our goal is always to help you accomplish the purposes of your life and to know the most joy and the most beauty and the most love that's possible.
Yes, it really is. And now we're going to give you that special bonus that we talked about. I want to ask my dad to share with us about what happened at the very end of his father's life. We flew down together to Rancho Mirage, California, where my grandfather was in the hospital. It was May of 2008. He was 90 years old. We knew it might be near the very end for him. Will you tell us what happened?
Yes, I would love to do that. My dad had lived 20 mostly quite healthy years after he had been faced with death and had dramatically changed his diet. But now he was 90 and very, very close to the end of his life. This is a man who had never hugged me as a child, nor did I ever see any physical affection between him and my mother. His philosophy of parenting had always been more about toughening kids up than about any kind of love or affection. I had never in my life ever heard him say that he loved me. 20 years previously, he had been very close to death, and he had felt bitter and cheated. But now, having changed his diet and lived another 20 good years, he seemed to be making peace with his life and becoming ready to go. In those 20 years, he and I had grown closer in some ways. He had come to have a lot of respect for my work and even offered, if I ever wanted to run for office, to fund my campaign. And this totally amazed me because his and my political views were very far apart. But now Ocean and I were standing close by his bedside in the hospital, and I could see that he was in pain. And I began softly saying, "Less pain, more love. Less pain, more love. Less pain, more love." I felt fairly certain that he could hear me, but he wasn't responding, so I wasn't sure. So I continued, "Less pain, more love. Less pain, more love. Less pain, more love." My dad had a device that enabled him to inject morphine into his veins every 15 minutes. He clearly wanted it more often than that, but the doctor said that any more would put him into a coma from which he might not come back. Every time he injected the morphine into his veins, a look of relaxation would come over his face, and he'd appear to fall asleep. But as the 15 minutes went by until more would be injected, he would become increasingly agitated. It was clear he was in pain. And I kept softly saying, "Less pain, more love." And then finally, my dad spoke, and I realized that he had been hearing me because he said, "Less pain." "Yes, Dad," I said, "less pain, and more love." "Less pain," he said as insistently as he could. "Yes, Dad, less pain," I answered, "less pain, and more love." And then something happened that I'll never forget. He opened his eyes and he looked right at me, and he said, "You keep adding this more love stuff, but that's how you are. You've always been about love, haven't you? That's just who you are. Not me. I thought all this love stuff was just BS. I thought it was for sissies. I thought people were lazy and didn't want to work. But now I'm seeing what pain can do to a person. It can make you not want to be civilized. I'm sorry you're feeling so much pain, Dad, I said. He opened his eyes again and looked right at me. Less pain, he said. Yes, Dad, less pain, I said. But before I could say anything further, my dad interrupted saying, and more love. Less pain and more love. And now we were saying it together. Less pain and more love. Less pain and more love. There was one point where he seemed to sleep from the morphine. His eyes were closed, and I kissed him as gently as I could on the forehead. But he flinched and seemed anxious, and he asked, "What was that?" "Oh, I'm sorry, Dad. I didn't mean to disturb you. That was just me kissing you on the forehead." "Why would you do a thing like that?" "Because I love you." "Oh," he said, and he might have smiled just a little bit, but then he seemed again to drift off and maybe to fall asleep. And so again, as gently as I could, I kissed him on the forehead. And this time he didn't flinch. He smiled widely and said, "Oh my, there sure is a lot of love here now." "Less pain and more love," I said. And he answered, "Less pain and more love." And we said our little refrain together a few more times, and then he drifted off into a very, very deep sleep. I never saw him open his eyes again, and those were the last words I ever heard him speak. Less pain and more love.
Less pain and more love. Those were the last words either of us ever heard my grandfather speak. And that's what my dad and I want for you as well. Thank you for staying with us. We are so grateful to have shared this time with you. And if you are inspired to participate, I can't wait to see you in Plant Powered and Thriving, where you're going to put all of this into action so you can feel good, look good, and do good.
I wish for you that your days be full of life and laughter and love and always lots of learning. And I'd love to see you in the course.
This completes our time together today, but our work is just getting started. Thank you so much for joining us in this masterclass, and thank you for joining us in this food revolution. Let's do this.